Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. So when you are in the direct seller program on TCGplayer, you send all of your direct reimbursement invoice cards into the New York warehouse. And when they receive them in, they go through them, they do a conditioning on them, meaning that they look at the condition of the card, they make sure it's the correct card, the correct variant, and that the condition of card you sent in matches what you were supposed to send in. Now, you will end up with what's called a discrepancy report because not everything will be correct. And so I just got back some cards that were incorrect. So they were pulled aside, and TCGplayer has a way of figuring out how to adjust the accounting on the money side of that. So they'll go out and they'll then have to purchase from their own marketplace a card to replace the card that was deficient that you sent in. And so if you look at this list, this is my list compiled from the couple of discrepancy reports I've gotten recently and that these cards they sent back to me are from. And now what will happen is they will take those cards to the side that they said were not sufficient. They will hold them for you, and then in the future they will send them back to you. You can request them earlier if you want. But what I want to do today is go through these cards, open them up, and just look at them, compare them, try to figure out what went wrong, and see what I can learn from this. So, if you want a bunch of fast-paced action and zany cussing and all of that, go ahead and click off the video. And if you want some detailed forensics trying to puzzle through what's going on here, stay with me and we'll figure some things out. Now, if you've noticed on this list that I've shown, one of the things you can see is discrepancy reason. And of course, missing, you can see the quantity I was supposed to send in of this card was 5. The discrepancy was 1 was missing. Okay, so that just means I had inventory errors. When I initially entered my inventory in the TCGplayer, I just counted wrong. Okay, so that's just me being stupid. And similarly down here, I was supposed to send 2. I missed 2, 1 and 1, 1 and 1. So what happened here, because all 3 of these are kind of alphabetically in order from the same set, is when I had the replenishment invoice in my hand and I was pulling the cards from my collection, from my inventory, I just skipped these 3 lines. So again, that's just me being dumb. Now, also there are circumstances where you might send in cards they did not request. Maybe if you have a stack of 48 cards you're supposed to send in, 48 copies of one card, then you miscount, you send them 49, they'll hold that one extra for you. Or if you send the wrong variant, they will hold it for you, and eventually you will get it back. So I have another piece of paper that came with this. Interesting. Okay, so I have another piece of paper that came with this, and let's see, final trade. So this is how they package them up. Okay, so I have these. Final trade 2016 MTG Exsanguinate. And what did they say? They sent me an extra piece of paper that has a somewhat more detailed explanation of some of the condition problems with these cards. Now, I'm not going to show that because that's their paper to me, whereas this is something I compiled from my data, so I'm not going to show their materials. But for this card, it said miscut off center was the problem, and yowza, Watsy, what are you doing? Yeah, it's interesting to me that miscut off center is a reason for them to reject the card. Also, this looks like the cut is twisted. So it looks like the card is twisted this way, or the printing is twisted that way on the paper. And so you can see that the gap here is a lot narrower than the gap up here. So yeah, it's pretty badly miscut. A lot of these Jumpstart cards that I was opening, I noticed it as I was opening and sorting, but it's interesting that some of them get rejected for miscut. I don't know what the threshold is. We can argue over whether or not that's a condition problem. It's certainly a quality problem on Watsy's side, so that was in a sleeve with that. I guess that was, yeah, looking at the other list, that was the only condition problem from that replenishment invoice. So be aware if you have heavily miscut cards, they can get rejected for that. Again, who knows what the threshold is? Is that the print dot? Whoop, whoop, let's get it. I don't know. Maybe it is. It doesn't feel like anything, but it would be hard to feel something that far off. But yeah. Okay. And then the next stack. Let's see what we got. Now, islands, for the basic lands, they didn't send any particular detailed assessment of what the damage is. So I had some of these core 21 islands, and let's see. Some of them were downgraded to moderate play, one was, and four were downgraded to damage. Now, an interesting thing about these Core 21, these came out of Jumpstart 2020 booster packs. Because remember, in a Jumpstart 2020 booster pack, you have one themed basic land in each of the packs, and then the rest of the basic lands are Core 21 lands printed with the Core 21 logo. And at the back, the bottom card in a Jumpstart 2020 pack is going to touch that clear inner wrapper of those packs, and those are sealed with adhesive. And I've noticed some of those have adhesive that bleeds over onto the card. Sometimes the cards stick together, like when you stack that rear card on top of another deck of cards, they will stick together. And so I'm suspecting some of these problems, especially with these lands, may be because of the adhesive that was on there. And so it doesn't specify which of these are, which one is the, well, let's see. Okay, well, there's a group of four and then there's a group of one. So maybe I might assume that the group of four is the ones marked as damaged. So we can try to take a look on here. Now on the back, will it have the adhesive? Oh, yeah. I mean, that's pretty obvious. There you go. Yep, that's definitely damage. Okay, and is this going to be the same thing? No. Okay, so I'm not seeing it on the back there. Not seeing it on the front. Let me get you guys a view of that. Okay, so we will call this island number 2, and if you can tell where the damage is, please feel free down below in the comments. Let me know. You know, it's terribly miscut. I mean, there's the, let me get it where you can see it. There's the print dot. So it is terribly miscut. Okay. Island number 3. And again, you have, let's get it to focus. Come on. You have a bit of the print dot. You see about half of that print dot. The print dot is in the corners between 4 cards, and you should never see it. It should be left on the cardboard after the cards are punched out of the print sheet. It should be left. And so, you know, it's a factory error when the print dot is visible. Now, is that a condition problem with the card? We can all argue over that. I don't know that I have a clear answer or a hard position on it. So this is interesting. It's the third one of these damaged islands. And obviously that first one with the bend in it was definitely damaged. Now, what is that? Let me... There's a little scuff. Boy, that's the best I can tell. Okay, so we'll call this island number 3. So if for island number 3 you see the problem, put it in the comments below and help me out. Okay? Let me get these back in the original order so when you guys comment, I can come back and look. And we'll call this island number 4. Definitely got some problem there. And that is... It doesn't feel like adhesive. It's not paper damage. It looks like it might be some kind of roller mark or something. Now, I mean, it is pretty horribly off-center. Good job, Watsy. Oh, yeah. There it is. Okay, so island number 4 pretty obviously has that problem. Let me just make sure on those other two, on number 2 and 3, that we didn't have that and we missed it. Yeah, I don't see it there. Okay, so 1 and 4 obviously had bends in them. I definitely agree those are damaged. And we're going to skip ahead here to this island, which since it is alone and those other 4 were together, I will assume this is the one they downgraded to moderately played. Let's see if we can find a problem. I could be wrong on that assumption that this is the moderately played. We will see. Is that it? Yeah, it's a good candidate. Yeah, Okay. You know, I would probably say those couple of problems here. So it's got a dent right there and it's got a chip right there. Okay. So I would say that one's actually damaged. It's got a weird piece. It's not trash. It's, I don't know, it's like a printing problem. So I would say that that's probably really damaged. And the other four islands were a mix. The moderately played one is in this stack of four somewhere. Now, something that I hadn't said before is every single card that I sell on TCGplayer is pack fresh. Like, I buy sealed boxes, I break them down, I sort them myself, and I sell them. So they're all pack fresh. Now, obviously, pack fresh does not mean Gem Mint 10. Cards can regularly come out of the factory. 7, 8, 9 is what you'll typically get. Sometimes less, rarely more. So, Village Rights, they said this was miscut off center. Should have picked a lighter background here so that you could see these borders on the black cards. And yeah, you know, I wonder if the standard is they can see any of the print dot. Because there is a tiny bit of the print dot there that you can see. Yep. Okay. Maybe that's the standard. And again, Vito, this one is also miscut off center. So maybe that's it. Maybe, you know, maybe they get the stack of cards and they just put it in their hands and they just do like this. And if there are any print dots, they pull them aside and they call them miscut off center. Maybe so. But yeah, Naeth of the Dire Hunt. This one is miscut off center also, and there is visible print dot. Dormant Grove foil. So they did not give a detailed explanation of this, but on the original discrepancy report, let me find it. They said near mint foil, and they downgraded this one to damaged. So let's try and puzzle out this one. Is anyone seeing it? Okay. I mean, it is off center, but I don't see. Is that part of the print dot? But why would they call it damaged? Or it could have been. No, all those miscut ones. Looking at the other list. Yeah, so they downgraded the miscuts to damaged. Okay, so I bet this is the same thing. So if it's miscut, they call it damaged, and you can see what appears to be a bit of the print dot there. And if you look on the opposite side, you can see it in the same corner. So I guess that's what's going on there, is that it's miscut. For some reason, it's not on the detailed report. I don't know why. Moving on, Blessed Sanctuary, they said slight fault top edge. Yep. It's pretty obviously a slight fault on the top edge. Okay. And they had downgraded that one to moderately played. All right. The treasure token. Now, treasure tokens are just a nightmare. Tokens are printed on a cheaper paper. It is not the blue core paper that regular Magic cards are printed on. It's a cheaper paper. And because of that, it damages a lot more easily. Also, tokens are typically put on the outside of the booster packs. So if the booster pack takes damage on the side that the token is on, then the token is going to be absorbing that damage. And, you know, it's just kind of frustrating, but you can actually tell the difference in paper if you have your collection all sorted out and you'll see a stack of, say, treasure tokens or some other common token. You can tell it's a different color paper because it is, in fact, a different type of paper. Treasure token, they said minor indentation, top edge, visible through back. Yeah, it's probably that. Right above the R and the E in treasure. It's probably it. Yeah, that looks like a good candidate for it. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely call that damaged. It's interesting, they downgraded it to moderately played, but it's, you know, it's really bent. I would call that damaged. Okay. And then that island that we already observed was next. Oops, dropped a card out of there. Okay. And Bruvok, of course, this is the one I'm most interested in because it's a $32 card. Slight Fault Top Edge was what they sent. Yep, right there. Think of the manpower they expend conditioning these cards. All right. And does it go through to the backside? Let me catch it. Yeah. Yep. Both the little fault here and the fault in the center. So if we turn it back to the front, that, yep, see it right there and right there. Okay. So yeah, Bruvok, and they had downgraded that, I believe, to moderately played. Atali, Primal Storm. Now they did not send a detailed reason for this. They downgraded it to moderately played. And maybe it'll be more of, yeah, I mean, that doesn't look great. Think of the manpower and the labor they're going to save when they start getting computers to do this with machine vision. Yeah, so that's definitely, downgrading that to moderately played. Sure, I agree. Kira, Great Glass Spinner. Let's see, I had 2 of these. And looking on their detailed list, it is not present. Looking on my list, it is. They were both downgraded to moderate play. And I may be kind of getting down the rabbit hole, looking in the same spot on all of them. Oh, that's going to be it. There we go. Yep, and it's funny. It may have come out of the same pack as that Bruvok because it has the same exact damage in the same spot. See, this is the other problem with Jumpstart with those inner wrappers. They have the decks, the half decks and inner wrappers, and then they have to have a machine insert them into the outer wrapper. And I think a lot of them take damage like that. I bet this was damage from the machine that inserted the inner wrapped deck into the outer wrapper. So yeah, I would agree. Moderate play, and the other Kira was moderate play also. And I wonder if we just go straight there. Yep. Okay. Path to Exile. This was minor indentation visible through the back. And they downgraded it to moderate play. Yeah, that's probably it. Right here. That's a pretty good indentation. It's funny because when I have to look through it on the viewfinder that I'm on the phone I'm filming this with to see it. When I look at it with my eyeball directly, it's really hard to see. Okay, so I will agree. Moderate play. And finally, Rogue's Gloves. It is not on their detailed list, and they downgraded it to moderate play. Of course, we'll look in the typical trouble spot, which apparently is up here. Anyone seeing it? I don't see it yet. Well, set it along the top. Man, I can't find it. Using my eyeballs directly on the card. Boy, there's a tiny little imperfection right there on his wrist. See it? That's all I can come up with. Let me see the back. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. So you can see it right there on his wrist. See it right there at the center tip of my fingernail. See it? And then when we look on the back, you can see it. See it right there? There we go. That's it. Okay. Man, I cannot imagine the kind of manpower they expend finding these kind of issues. So I mostly agree. The only thing that I would maybe bicker with, and it's more of a philosophical conversation, it's Do miscut cards count as damaged? Um, it's factory error. I don't know. Everyone's going to have their opinion about it. I know if you go on eBay, you can find tons of listings of cards of misprint, and I use quotes for misprint, and they call them misprint, but they're really just cut badly. And it's like with WotC's quality control and lack of quality control, it's really hard to say that a miscut is worth anything extra with a premium as a misprint. I'm very skeptical of that, but should miscuts count as damaged cards? Let me know what you think below. Again, I don't have any hard feelings on that. It's good to know, and especially when you're opening a product like Jumpstart, where the cards will have generally come from the same sheets, you can potentially cull out an entire 20 card half deck at once if you notice that they are all miscut badly enough to show print dots. So, it seems that wherever you stand on the philosophical issue, TCGplayer's policy appears to be, from this examination, it appears to be that if you have a print dot, that is miscut, and miscut is damaged and will be downgraded and returned to you. So for the future, I guess that's what we should take away from it. If you know better than I do on this stuff, you have more experience, which I have virtually none. If you know better, put some comments down below and help me out. Help me learn what's going on here. So, this Bruvok is definitely moderately played. And let's go back and look at him again. Yeah, a couple little chippy doos there. So what I'm going to say, let's see, how much was all of this? What did they call the market price of all this stuff? 32, and then 6 for the veto is 38. A couple bucks for different Blood Artist and Krinko. No, those were missing cards. Yeah, so I maybe had 40 bucks of cards that they downgraded. Okay. If any of my patrons want this whole stack of cards, message me on Patreon and I'll mail it to you. I'll cover the shipping and all the fees for 25 bucks. And, at the very worst, you get a $32 Bruvok that's got some damage in the top, and maybe there's some other cards in there. And if nobody wants them for that price, then I don't know. I'll put them somewhere and eventually get rid of them somehow. So if you have anything to add to this to help me learn what I'm doing here, any other things that I'm not even covering, like other types of common damage and the way TCGplayer treats them, that would be good to know. Put it down below. Otherwise, thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade, guys.